these things too, you're more than welcome to do that.
I have a question real quick.
Sure, I want the whole, make sure it's specific.
But it's specific to this.
For where, for what?
Do the place, is it possible to do one reading tonight?
That's what we're doing.
Okay, I didn't,
Yeah, that's what this is first read.
okay.
And I can go further into that, but whenever we're presenting it to the public like we're doing here tonight, that is the first read. Okay. Going on to new business, also first reading. This is an ordinance clarifying the responsibility for maintaining grass and weeds within the adjacent right of way. Justin, you sort of pulled this together. You want to give an overview of this draft and what we're attempting to accomplish?
Sure. The intent here, it really comes from with our increased efforts with for zoning and code enforcement, we found a handful of parcels where grass isn't being cut, it's overgrowing, specifically on East State Road, which is a county right of way. So as we dove into our code of ordinances and the Ohio Revised Code, we didn't have anything that governed or required property owners to maintain the right of way between the roadway and their property line. And so essentially this ordinance is to, establish responsibility to the homeowner that's adjacent to it to cover the right of way from where their property line ends to the roadway. The language of this was drafted from many other municipalities, Mason and other villages, the surrounding area that have the same governing legislation. So if there's any questions on it, I'll answer them.
Say right away, are you talking about the tree skirt or?
So traditionally the tree skirt, yes. So if you're driving up East State, generally speaking, the right of way is 22 feet from the center median. There's other areas, but East State's the best example and kind of what led us to this. Generally, the property comes out to the center median of the roadway. The landowner is responsible for it. On East State, the county owns that right away. Sometimes it's a 10-foot stretch, sometimes it's 20, but that leaves a gap from the curb, your traditional tree skirt, whatever you call it, from the curb to the property line. That's not getting mowed, it's not getting maintained. We don't have the ability to do it. The Ohio Revised Code says that it's not the county engineer's responsibility to do it, even though the property leaves us with two options to have homeowners responsible for maintaining that, or it's not.
I thought we received state highway funding, that part of that was supposed to go to help us.
For US 50 we do, not for East State. That's my understanding, speaking with our service.
And quite frankly, even if that's true, which I don't think it is, we do not have the manpower or the ability to make that happen on a regular basis. They haven't hard enough time. One of the reasons on my mayor's page, I constantly is showing what our maintenance people are doing. They have 63 acres of grass to cut every week out in the park, not to mention a number of other properties that are owned where the resident is not taking care of the property, and either the house is in foreclosure or something like that. We have to go in, we have to go out. There's only so many hours in the day.
I understand all that stuff. I think what concerns me is, are we putting a burden on East State Road residents that the rest of the residents don't have? Up in my subdivision.
State residents take care of that right.
Yeah, but do Westgate residents have to do that?
I believe they do.
You believe they do?
I believe they, I absolutely am certain.
According to our ordinances?
According to our own.
Okay, that's all I was concerned about.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that
Same
this
thing in
isn't
Coleman Woods.
specific to one strip of roadway.
It's the tricky, I don't think it's just specific to that. We have other residents in other parts of the village that don't maintain right of way when they should be and have the responsibility to do it. I think this ordinance says exactly what we've intended, clarity. We want our residents to know. And just to be clear, because the next thing we're gonna talk about is this. One of the problems the old council had, and I hate to take a shot, deals with this, which I'll get to in a second, because I'm gonna talk specifically about the next thing. But yes, we have, okay, we have many residents who take care of the right of way just perfect, and we are thankful for that. But I think from a standpoint of clarifying it for people, this ordinance gives them that responsibility and it's perfect.
That's all I'm asking, is I wanna make sure it's not specific to just one strip of a roadway with only the residents that live on that
You
road.
know, it's very similar to, in many ways, when you take a look at Westgate or you take a look at Coleman Woods. They're in that right of way area, okay? You've got a sidewalk usually, okay? And then you've got an area that you have to maintain. And most people take care of that without any problem. You go into Coleman Woods, you're not gonna see anybody that doesn't have the
But
right.
wouldn't East State residents also fall under that same ordinance that we fall under?
Well, I'm not. but
Why
I'm-
do we need something special? I'm
Well,
I'm
I
just
think
curious,
it's
I'm not,
simply because we have new residents, okay, who don't take care of it. And number two, we are a municipality. We are not a rural area, okay, which means, for example, when Ed's doing the enforcement, and he's out in Miami Township as their enforcement officer, he's gotta enforce Miami Township, he's gotta enforce Addison, he's gotta enforce Cleves. Doesn't do North End. So when he's doing that, and you have to do it one way at Miami Township and another way, they're not concerned, I can tell you Miami Township is not concerned about the right of way. The village of Cleves is, and I think every resident should be concerned.
okay, I understand that, Chuck, but I'm just saying if we already have an ordinance that covers the right of way for all residents,
It does not clarify. It does not clarify on that road.
that's what I'm asking.
So let me go on if I can, unless there's more questions. I'd like to go on to adopting the Cleves Code of Ordinances. Prior to last year, if you'd gone onto our website, and I think it's even still there right now, there were just some ordinances that would show up and you could go in and you didn't even know whether they were enforced. There's something in the Ohio Revised Code, and it's not just Ohio Revised Code, it's everywhere in every state. Okay, you have the right to due process of law. If you're going to enforce an ordinance, residents should have the right to see exactly what those ordinances are, and they should be tested against court cases. That recommendation had been given to previous councils and ignored. So for 20 years, we did not know whether or not our ordinances were legal or they weren't legal. So we invested into our process. We want all of our ordinances to be legal and we want them all up to date. In that process, we found out there are gaps. One of the gaps deals with what we're talking about just a second ago. It really didn't address it. That's why we're addressing it this way. So there's going to be a point in time after this next new business. We can't vote on it tonight, okay? But this next one is adopting these. Okay, so there's a bunch of these books that are going to be available to the public, and eventually they will be on our website, and you'll be able to search for any ordinance and how it impacts you. So you will have the access as a citizen of the village of Cleves, and you can go on American M Legal on their site right now and go across all of Ohio, and you'll see every town that has those posters. Some of them are limited, okay? When I say limited, what's that called? The Ohio Basic Code, I think, a lot of deal.
That's what we followed for years.
Yeah, well, that's only part of the process. So this particular process took a look at 20 years of ordinance. So it went back 20 years. Every ordinance we had was on. Some of them, they said are no longer applicable, no longer legal. Some of those were ones listed right on our website. Okay, so you can't be operating a government that has laws that are outdated and no longer applicable. We want to make sure our residents had the correct ordinance. So we dealt with that. Now, there's many other reasons I could get into, but I'm not going to get into it because it doesn't align with the special meeting. I just want everybody to know that this was not cheap. Okay, over 2 years, it cost us $20,000 to do. And it deals with a lot of different things that should be happening in our village. And that issue, I think, is the one advantage we have of being a home rule village, is that we have the ability to make ordinances. And those ordinances can be ones that the public have a right to speak on and talk about, which I think is the correct way as a former government teacher, the way the legislative process is supposed to work. You're supposed to let your residents know. And I think there are people sitting in here right now and remember the day where nobody attended our meetings, okay? Because quite frankly, they didn't even know what was being discussed. That's where the transparency comes in. I want our residents to know. I want our residents to know why we did this. It's gonna be available, and they can find out whatever they wanna find out. The number of questions we get from residents saying, well, what are my rights? And they, a lot of times it's property between neighbors. What is the law on, for example, opening burning? That's another one of the gaps we're trying to close.
That book doesn't cover all of our ordinances, though,
It
right?
does,
All of them.
every single
You
one.
said we have several of those,
We sell one.
copies of
Yeah,
that.
oh yeah, we do.
We're not giving that away, though,
No, but it's gonna be available for anybody who wants to come in.
to come in and look at.
It's available online.
That's what they
I know.
online.
But nobody can come in and take one of those books with them.
It's there, there'll be one over at his office, there's one here, actually, this one's Rob's, okay, but he's not here tonight.
Okay,
I just wanted to demonstrate that in reality, those are our ordinances, okay? Many of them dealt with a lot of different things. Some of them weren't even on the books, but should have been on the books. And that's what we're trying to correct.
yeah, I want to clarify something because I was the elected clerk treasurer up until 2015. We maintained our ordinances. We codified them once. So I don't want people to think that we've not had this done for 40 years. Because when I was here, we were doing it. Anybody that wanted to know an ordinance could come in and get it. I filed them, I posted them. I did everything I was legally supposed to do. Up till 2015 when I left. So I just want to clarify that, Chuck,
That's fine.
because I was involved in that. So
I can tell you after that, if it wasn't being done.
very possible,
And
but
regardless of that, okay, it wasn't being reviewed yearly. Ours will be reviewed, there's court cases that come about all the time. Every time we pass an ordinance, and he sends off the ordinance, it's put into our book, and it's put back online, so we keep everything up to date.
oh, I think it's a good thing. I just don't want confusion about
No, I don't either,
how long it's been since,
I don't either, I can tell you that had our ordinances had not been through a formal process for quite a while.
yeah, back, we supposed to do it at least once in a decade. That's what the auditor used to say. We did it once in the 18 years I was, probably not enough. We hired somebody, they did it. So I'm just clarifying that. Since I was responsible, in those 18 years, I was the clerk treasurer.
All right, so that's the first reading of this one. I'm gonna move on to regulating open burning. And this one is a classic example of what